Hello, today I'm here with my December wrap-up. I had a few DNFs, but I'm going in the order that I read the books from. I actually started the month with the DNF, and that was Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. And it is a thick book in my defense. It's over 700 pages. And I was close to halfway through, if not halfway through. I started this book in August. So you can tell how long it's taken me to make the decision of DNFing the book. So I was enjoying it. I definitely was enjoying it to start with. But it was so dragged out. Like, the dialogue between the characters and everything was so long to the point I started actually to get bored. It was interesting at first. If you don't know what this one is, by the way, should have started with that. This one is like Twilight, but from Edward's point of view. Obviously, I don't think I need to explain any more than that. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what Twilight is. But yes, it's from Edward's point of view. And at first I was really enjoying it. But like I said, about halfway through, I just thought I can't do it anymore. I was too bored, quite frankly. And I feel like also I had enough of his point of view to know how he feels about Bella and everything, so I just felt like I didn't need to read the rest of the book. It was just too dragged out. That was my only problem with it. So I DNF'd it, but I think it would have been a 3-star potentially if I not DNF'd it, because I feel like there's nothing special about it whatsoever. I know it sounds horrible. I was a massive Twilight fan. I was a massive fan of the books when I read them the first time when I was like, I think 18 or something. So I read them, I was obsessed with the films, and I still like the films, even though I can tell they're cringy. And on quite a few occasions I genuinely just cringe when I watch them. But it's still nostalgic and one of my favourite films because I just love them. So I thought I'd really enjoy this book. But unfortunately, I couldn't deal with it anymore. So it was a DNF. The next book I actually finished, and that was The Reckoning by Jane Casey. So this is the second book in the DC Kerrigan series. I can't explain to you the plot of it. Well, I guess I can because they're sort of separate things. But in this book, the main character is DC Mauve Kerrigan. And in this particular book, we follow, well, her, but also there is a killer who targets convicted paedophiles. 2 men have already been tortured to death, and for the police, their cases are not a priority. But DC Mauve Kerrigan believes that no one should be allowed to take the law into their own hands. As the violence escalates, Mauve is forced to confront exactly how far she's prepared to go to ensure justice is served. So like I said, this is the second book in the series, and it's quite thick as well. It's over 460 something pages. And I love it for that though. I think I preferred the first book. I still gave this one 4 stars, but I feel like it just scraped 4 stars. This one was a little bit more, I don't know, it felt bleak compared to the first one. This is obviously police procedural. I don't know why I said obviously, but it is a police procedural, by the way, and the first book was really good. It was full of details of everything, of her life, of investigation, how the investigation is actually going, even the interviews, all the evidence, all of the... It's not actually full of twists and turns because I feel like these books are a little bit more realistic to how real investigations would go. They're not overly dramatic, they just feel realistic, and the characters and the dynamic in the team, because I think it's essentially like a murder squad, so it's a separate branch from CID, and I think some people were from major crime units, so it's sort of in between type of thing, but this just focuses on the murders, and so she's part of this team. But oh my god, honestly, there is a little bit of romance in it as well, which I enjoyed. It wasn't as great in the second book though. I would have preferred if there was a slow burn from the first book, but it didn't happen anyway. So yes, this book was still full of detail, but for some reason, like I said, it was just bleak. when reading it, I just felt bleak. I don't remember feeling like that with the first book. And somehow it felt a little bit more dragged out. It's still, I still gave it 4 stars, so it wasn't as bad as I'm probably saying it. So it was really still good, and I enjoyed it, and it's again felt realistic. The dynamic between the characters on the team and everything just felt so real. It felt like real people, real investigation, real life. It felt great. So for that, I still gave it 4 stars, and I do have the 3rd book in the series already. For once, I'm not buying the rest of the series. I'm just buying them, the next one in the series, whenever I'm ready to continue with it. As in, as soon as I finish like the 2nd one, I've bought the 3rd one. So I've got it on my TBR whenever I want to continue with it. And then I'll just buy the 4th one after I finish the 3rd one. I think there's like 15 books in the series, but they're really good so far. Okay, so I've got my little notebook where I write down the books that I have read, and this came as a surprise because I kind of forgot I read this one. But that was The Tone of the Key by Ruth Ware. I listened to it as an audiobook, and I just could not remember for the life of me what the plot of that book is. I gave it 3 stars, by the way, but I really don't remember what it's about, so I'm just gonna have to go on Goodreads and see the plot. Basically, in this book we follow the main character who stumbles across the ad, and the job is basically like too good to be true. It pays really well. It's like a live-in nanny, so the nanny who lives in the house, and it's a really like luxurious smart home, which means there's a lot of technology and all of the fancy stuff. Like, I think to turn on the light, to draw the curtains, you have to press the button, and if you press another button there'll be music playing, other stuff like that. It's too confusing. What she doesn't know is that she is stepping into a job where her child is going to end up dead, and now she is in prison writing a letter to this lawyer that she wants her to get out of it because she says she's not guilty, she didn't kill the child. Oh yeah, now I remember it. I didn't like any of the characters. If I remember correctly, I hated the children. They were naughty and really misbehaved. I also didn't like our nanny. I didn't like any of the other side characters at all. And I feel like the mystery, like the plot with the mystery, was all weird and underwhelming. I didn't like it at all. Well, as in, I gave it 3 stars. It was entertaining for a little while, but I feel like also at this point I've read too many books like this, because it's just, it feels like it's just the same plot again and again. It's what I'm listening to recently with Riley Sager books, and recently I started reading Mrs. England, but that'll be for January. So all of them just seem to be the same book repeated again and again, and I know it's not exactly the book's fault, but that's how I'm feeling about it. I just didn't like any of the characters. There wasn't enough suspense. Well, no, there wasn't enough suspense, and it was just a little bit, like I said, underwhelming. I was not happy with how it ended. I think it was just, yeah, underwhelming is what I want to say. I know Ruth Ware is a really popular author, but I'm not sure this put me off reading anything more of her. So I don't know if there's just not the author for me. Although this book doesn't have the highest of ratings, it's 3.92 on Goodreads, and most of the people gave it 4 stars. So I guess it's not that amazing of a rating, but still. Then I listened to yet another audiobook, and this time I went into Christmas romance. I don't know who I am, because I never used to read romance, especially Christmas romance. I'm not a big fan of Christmas, and I'm not a big fan of romance. But for some reason in December I just wanted to read those. And that's not the only one that I read. So this one I gave 4 stars to. I really quite enjoyed this one. So in this book we follow Clara, who basically does something a little bit wild. So I think she's nearly 40. I want to say she's nearly 40. So she gets this new boyfriend. They haven't known each other for that long, but everything's going well, and then he gets a new job, or he just moved for the job to Switzerland, and she just goes with him, just drops her old job that she's been in there for decades, and she just goes there on off chance, because why not? And there she signs up for like a chocolate school, I think it is, but it's much more serious than that. It's like a full-on competition, everyone's really into it, and she's like a really newbie. And yeah, her boyfriend might not be quite as good as she thought he was. I enjoyed it. Like, thinking back on it, I did have a good time with it. There was a lot of, at first, so the people in her class at first were really unfriendly, so I hated that. But as the book was progressing, you could see other sides of those characters, and you can see little friendships building and everything, so I sort of warmed up to that. And I loved Clara as the main character. She was so, I don't know, there's something sweet about her, how she just wanted to please her boyfriend, but then she wasn't like a pushover. She was great. I enjoyed her as a character, and I think I enjoyed the romance bit as well, because, well, I can't spoil anything, but there might be a different love interest in there apart from her boyfriend. I'm not going to say it's not a love triangle at all, if that's putting you off in any way at all. But yeah, I had a good time with it. It was a lot of talk about chocolate. It was quite sweet. I enjoyed how the main character ended up, and yeah, all the little friendships, all her like not professional development, but how she put all her time and soul into making chocolates, making sure she's one of the best, and she's just a great person as it is. And it was just quite interesting to see her just drop her old life back and go to a different country, doing something completely different she's never done before. She doesn't know what she wants to do with her life, so it must have been quite scary. So I enjoy that aspect of a character who's been in the routine for so long, go off somewhere, do something completely random, completely different, adjusting to that life, making new friends, discovering stuff about your boyfriend, discovering stuff about herself. I really had a good time with it. The next one I read is Gobelino the Witch's Cat by Ursula Moray Williams, which is a children's book, and I gave this one 3 stars. I didn't expect anything, but I got it from a charity shop the other day, and I just wanted in December to read something really cute and sweet, and that was cute and sweet. I had a good time with it, but because I'm not the target audience, obviously it didn't quite hit me like I would have potentially wanted it to, which is understandable because, like I said, I'm not the target audience. I'm a lot older than the target audience, but it does have cute illustrations throughout. So in this book we follow Gobelino, who doesn't want to be a witch's cat. He wants to be an ordinary kitchen cat and sit by the fire, catch mice and watch the baby. So while his sister Sutica learns how to ride a broomstick and turn mice into toads, Gobelino goes in search of a kind family to live with. But the trouble is no one trusts him. Will Gobelino ever find the home of his dreams? I found it a little bit repetitive, like he'd go from one thing to another, get used to those people or creatures, then move on, and it just was sort of really repetitive. And because it was repetitive and we could jump from one thing to another to another to another, I didn't quite connect with anything. But the cat was really quite sweet. He was a cutie. But yeah, it was just like a nice sort of children's book. Obviously I didn't expect anything too much of it because it's a children's book, but still I had a good time with it, gave it 3 stars, and I will be unhauling this one as well as Midnight Sun, I think. Then I listened to yet another audiobook and yet another Christmas romance, and that was Booked for the Holidays by Liz Maverick. I gave this one 3.5 stars. It was on Audible and it was quite a short one. So in this book we follow our main character, who I think she's an editor, and so she goes to visit this woman who's been doing a series of books for a long time, and then she hasn't published one for a while. So she goes to her house like unexpectedly, and there she meets the grandson of that woman, and they start working on a novel together. It being a Christmas romance, you know what's going to happen. I did enjoy it. I hated the narration of the male character. I hated his voice, the narrator's voice. I know it's nothing to do with the book, but I really hated it so much. But the book in general, at first I was sort of feeling okay about it, but then as it was progressing and how their relationship was, well, not relationship, you can't call it a relationship, but as they were both working together on a book, I started to warm up towards it. So in the end, I gave it 3.5 stars. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say. It was just sort of fine. Well, it was a little bit more than fine. Like I said, I gave it 3.5 stars, which is a little bit more than fine, but nothing special really. I sort of also wanted a little bit more about writing process and other things. I mean, it is in the book, but it being a short book, I didn't quite get as much as I would have liked to get from it, which is a little bit of a shame, but it's fine really. So yeah, I don't mind it too much. Oh yeah, then I started yet another Christmas Right Rants audiobook, but that was the the Christmas Bookshop by Jenny Colgan, but I DNF'd it. It was about this character who, I think she's in her, I can't remember how old she was, but anyway, so she either lost her job or was just getting on her mum's nerves or something, and she was offered this job in a bookshop. But there's also, we follow the point of view of the sister, of the main character, I think of the mum as well, and their relationship between each other is all like messed up, and I found it stressful just listening to it. And the sort of misbehaved kids again of the sister, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. It was too many characters to follow, too many plot lines. The main character was really annoying me. I think the main character is the woman who got the job at the bookshop. There was absolutely nothing cozy about it. Like I said, I hated all of the characters, and the fact that I was jumping from one character to another I also didn't like, because I don't always like multiple perspectives, especially if I don't like any of the characters. So I just didn't I couldn't deal with it anymore, and thought I'm not doing it. So I returned the book to Audible and started something else afterwards. Then I had yet another DNF, but this was a physical book, and that is The Shadow Man by Helen Fields. This was from one of my wrapped up books that I had ages ago. I got it from my Bookfulness subscription box when I was subscribed to them. And in this book, there are 3 different women who are in this room because this man kidnapped them. They don't know who he is, but their life is a living hell. And we also follow a perspective of, I can't remember her title. I think she's like a forensic psychologist or something like that. I hated her point of view. She's too stroppy, she's too firm, too annoying for me. And we also got in the head of the person who kidnapped these girls and women. I didn't like that either. I didn't like being in anyone's head at all. I found it incredibly bleak. I was about 100 something pages into it before I decided to stop and not bother with it. I thought I was enjoying it, but I think then I faced it. I don't like books that are about like false imprisonment sort of trope. I just do, there's something uncomfortable about them. I don't like them. I don't like being in the head of somebody who's trapped, somebody kidnapped them and potentially doing things with them, or they're scared that they're going to do things with them. I just don't, something about it I don't want to read about it. I mean, it's a bad concept as it is, but it's a book. But yeah, I don't find it comfortable at all. And like I said, being in the main character's head, in any of their heads, I didn't like any of the characters, didn't like any of the point of view, and it was just incredibly bleak. And I was just jumping between every now and then, and I was getting sort of nowhere at the same time. So I didn't have to page 100 and something. And I will be getting rid of that book. My next book, unfortunately, was another DNF, but that was a cozy sci-fi, and that is Floating Hotel by Grace Curtis. I really wanted to enjoy this book, and I hate loud cars. That's not true. I love cool cars. Cool car sounds, not that sound that I just heard. Anyway, completely irrelevant. But in this book, we are in this floating hotel, which is in space. And it basically, I feel like there's no plot. That was my main issue with it. So we follow different characters. Each sort of chapter follows a different character. We follow a little bit of their background, a little bit of their story on the ship, hotel type of thing, how they got there, what they're doing, what their job role is, and stuff. I was bored. At first I was enjoying it, thinking, oh, this is quite nice and cozy. Well, not cozy, but I just thought it was interesting to me to start with. But I think it was like 70 pages in, and I thought, what is the point of this? Because we just literally kept jumping from one character to another. Fair enough, they're like long chapters, 20 or 30 pages for each character. But I just thought, what is the point? I don't think cozy sci-fi is for me. I mean, I haven't tried any other ones, so I can't say that. I shouldn't say that. But this put me off reading cozy sci-fi, because if there's no plot, I don't see how this could be sci-fi, if that makes any sense. I feel like a sci-fi novel can't be without a plot. Because what do you get? Just a sci-fi setting. But what's sci-fi-ish about it? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So unfortunately, I didn't have to. I even like pre-ordered it, I think, when it was about to come out. But unfortunately, it was a DNF. Although it was a random choice, because I picked it up from my TBR jar. I just wanted to read something completely random, something I didn't have a choice over. So this unfortunately was a DNF. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the book if you're into characters and you're not worried about the plot too much, or not too worried about it being sci-fi when there's not really that much about sci-fi apart from the fact that they're just floating in space. That's pretty much it. So to me, it was just felt a little bit pointless. I do like books with a plot, and I don't just read them for the characters. So it depends on what you like. Then I read another Christmas romance, and that was Christmas at the Borough, a Bookshop by Kylie Dunbar. I gave this book 3 stars. I don't remember much about it now. I did write a review, so maybe I should look into that. I need to tell you the plot about this book first. So in this book we follow this plot line that there is a borough, a bookshop, which is in a village in England, and it basically, the concept is that there are people, or one person or couples, whoever, goes to this bookshop to live a life of a bookseller for like 2 weeks or something. And yeah, that's the concept. So we've got our main character, who is Alexandra Robinson. She basically finds herself stranded in Clove Law, which is that village. Also, we follow Magnus, who is from Iceland, and he's an ex-bookseller himself, but he got this as a gift to go to this bookshop, to live there, like as a joke almost. And yeah, so those two might meet each other and whatnot. So you know where this is going. And I gave it 3 stars. What did I actually say though about the book? Because I did write a review, and this is the second book in the series. So the first one, I never read the first one. I just wanted to read this one because I thought, oh yeah, I remember even actually what it said. So there wasn't a lot about Christmas, and it was a little bit lacking in plot. I know you don't read these books for the plot, but still, to me personally, I want more plot. I want more going on. It just felt underwhelming, a little bit boring. And for a book that is set in a bookshop, and on the cover it says, "'Tis the season for finding love and the perfect book," there's not a lot about books in a freaking bookshop. That really annoyed me. If you're gonna set your book in a bookshop, give us more about the books. Give us more about the book selling process. Give us more about anything like that. But there was not a lot about it, apart from just like occasional mention of an author's name or which authors they sold the book to, and that happened like twice. So I found it underwhelming in that way. Oh yeah, and also these sort of books are usually set in like a cute community, and I think the point is that the community feels like family, or just like a cozy sort of, everyone's friendly with each other. And this one I didn't feel like at all. I felt like this little community didn't quite communicate. Even it didn't feel cozy in that way. I did like the romantic story. No, actually, I also didn't like how it was a little bit insta-lovey in this book. like he had feelings for her way too soon, way out of nowhere, and so did she. It just felt like, what? It was okay. I gave it, like I said, 3 stars. I didn't rate it too low, but I just all of these points that I've just pointed out, I didn't love it about that. So yeah, what I did like though, I kind of like the writing style of this book. It felt like almost like fairy tale sort of telling, because the writing felt atmospheric. Not to say the book felt atmospheric. Does that make sense? The writing felt like you're being told a story, almost like a fairy tale, magical sort of story. But everything else about it, wasn't a big fan. I liked Magnus as a character. I think he was grumpy to start with, and then he sort of warmed up, but then it started to feel completely unrealistic with their love for each other out of nowhere. Didn't like it. Then I read 2 books back to back from my Unhold TBR, by the way. I just fancied reading them. And so that was Warhorse and Farm Boy, both by Michael Morpurgo. So I gave this book 4 stars, and this one got 2 stars from me. In this book we follow a horse that has gone through a journey, I would describe it. This is set in the period of First World War, so there is that. And it's a children's book, but it is from the perspective of a horse, so that's quite unique to me. I've never quite seen it before. But how this horse makes sort of a friend with this stable boy or farm boy, and that was cute. So I did really enjoy Farm Horse, War Horse even. I even cried, I think, at one point. It was like good tears though. But this horse has gone through quite a lot, and I think loads of people know what this story is about, and maybe loads of people love this book. I gave it 4 stars. Again, I'm not a target audience because I'm a little bit older than the target audience is. But anyway, I did enjoy it. This though felt absolutely pointless. I felt, it's a sequel by the way to this book, but it felt absolutely pointless. I've never felt this way about a Michael Morpurgo book, because I've read quite a few books by him. But it gave nothing to the plot. It's full of pictures, full of illustrations. I just felt it's absolutely pointless, brought nothing to anything. It's a cute little story, but I didn't love it at all. It's just him, farm boy. So in this book we follow this farm boy at one point who, well, we don't follow him, but the horse is sort of friends with him, I suppose. And so in this book, this person is reminiscing back on the days. I already forgot, but it was just boring. It was pointless and boring. And the last book I read was yet another audiobook, another Christmassy one, and that was the Christmas Book Club. I give that book 3.5 stars. It was cute, but this time I felt like I was a little bit too young for the book, which I've never said anything like this before. But I think it's because the main characters are all in their, like, they all turning 40, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm in my early 30s, so it felt like they're on the brink of because all of the characters, it's also multiple perspectives, by the way. We get 3 or 4 different perspectives, and each of them sort of at some sort of crossroads. One is either starting a new career or just finishing the career rather. Another one is her children are going to be going off to college, so it's going to be like an empty nest type of thing. Another one has just always been a career woman and now is thinking, is it time to settle down? So I didn't relate to any of that because I'm, like I said, I'm a little bit young to relate to that. I can understand it, I can see it happening, but I just felt like I couldn't quite relate to any of them because I'm not at that stage yet, not for a good few years. So, but it was quite cute. I enjoyed it. This time I didn't mind the multiple perspectives because all of them were interesting in their own ways. They had different lives and they weren't annoying. I liked the characters, and I liked the journey that they had and the friendship. All of these people, by the way, that we're following, they're friends. And I forgot to tell you the plot because of course I did. So it's this group of friends who go to this hotel for the book club because they're sort of in the book club, but they meet very rarely. And yeah, that's pretty much the plot of this book. So I did enjoy it. It was cute, but couldn't relate to it. But I still gave it 3.5 stars, so take from it what you will. But yes, that is it. So apparently I read 9 books in the month of December and had like, how many DNFs? And had 4 DNFs. So it was an amazing reading month, but it's fine, and it's the biggest amount of Christmas romance books I've ever read. So, but I'm glad it's not Christmas anymore. So that's out of the way and done with. So I'm glad about that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!